strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. And when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?
Hey, cassettes, and welcome back to the Christmas Case Diaries.
Ba-da-bum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-bum bum 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 ba. Yeah.
Woo, get in the spirit.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
We're three old angels learning everything we can about movies and TV and hopefully teaching you in the process. I'm Marcy.
I'm Robin.
And I'm Adam.
I'm sorry I didn't point to anybody.
Yeah,
this
she
time.
usually points.
We
Yeah,
don't know
you
what
had
to do if you
you had
don't
to
point.
figure it out.
Ah.
Are we Bible accurate?
Nope.
Probably not.
We are not. We're not Bible accurate, much like the angel in this movie.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is not Bible
Sure.
accurate at all. I like
Exactly.
this movie's version of angels.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah,
pretty chill.
I like it.
There's no doubting it, folks. The holidays are here.
Yep.
Oh boy. No matter if you're ready or not. And with this season comes the return of certain movies. Of course, it's just not Christmas if Ralphie doesn't put on the pink bunny suit in A Christmas Story, or if we miss Kevin McAlister setting the traps in his Chicago home. Over time, these films have come to define the Christmas season so well, it's already hard to imagine what Christmas was like without them.
Yeah, these movies are fairly recent,
Mm-hmm.
but it still kind of feels like
They've been here forever.
exactly.
It's strange how that works with Christmas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It works
Yeah.
with songs, too.
Oh, especially
It's like
songs.
these songs were written so long ago.
Yep.
You know, but they're the same, like, 20 songs that these are the Christmas ones. Nobody's allowed to make a new one.
Yeah.
Because if they do, it's just not. it
Unless
doesn't
they're
fit
Mariah
in.
Carey. then.
Yes, exactly.
That's true. That's true.
Today, we're talking about one such movie. It's a story about a man that believes he's lived a worthless life until he's given an incredible gift. A chance to see what the world would be without him.
This is it's a pretty interesting gift,
Yeah.
at least.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, I feel like it is a good gift. I mean, it's a lot of turmoil, though, that he goes through.
Right.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pretty rough transition.
I'm like on the fence about whether or not I would want that.
Yeah.
Just to like see.
Mhm.
But also,
Yeah.
what if it's like way better?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. So it's like, maybe I shouldn't know.
You're scared of that
Better
gift.
off not knowing.
It's like my favorite part of the movie when the angel shows him what life would be like without him, and they show his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and the angel's like, "You don't want to see her. It's too upsetting.
Oh no.
She never married. She's an old maid now."
Horrible.
The worst thing to
And
be.
it's her clearly beautiful, flawless 23-year-old face, but she
Yes.
just has glasses now.
No.
Yeah. Telling me,
no.
You're telling me this girl didn't meet anyone else.
It's a Wonderful Life is so classic, we'll bet you even know the story, even if you haven't seen it. Countless TV shows have spoofed the famous plot, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to The Fairly Odd Parents.
In The Fairly Odd Parents, the world is better.
Like way
Of
better.
course it is.
It's like Utopia and his parents are like rich. or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
But this popular Christmas gem didn't start out as wonderfully as you would think. In fact, the film underperformed initially, landing its fledgling production studio about $500,000 worth of debt.
Ouch.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, how did this dud find its place as a bona fide Christmas classic? Grab a glass of Flaming Rum Punch, or whatever you prefer, and settle in as we discover the story behind It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
All right. This is another one of those movies because we mentioned it if you were around for the Shawshank episode
Mhm.
and how that one didn't do well either.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yep.
like, what? How? How do absolute classics not do well when they come out?
Yeah.
And then a movie that nobody will remember 20 years from now makes billions when it
Right.
comes
Yeah.
out. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
I
Mhm.
love these stories. These are my favorite movies to cover.
Yeah.
I agree.
The ones that didn't do well and then found a life later on. You know, there's just something about sometimes things aren't released at the right time. the world wasn't ready for something, and
Yeah.
just, it just happens.
That's why a lot of artists aren't famous until after they're dead.
Yep.
That's a good point. True.
You guys have seen It's a Wonderful Life. What do you guys think about this movie?
Yes, I remember the first time I saw it. It wasn't that long ago because it was one of the ones you showed me first.
Yeah.
I knew about it because it's a Christmas classic. A lot of people talk about
I
it.
remember showing it to you for the first time. I showed it to you and a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember because at the very beginning, they show you the fake stars,
Uh-huh.
and you said, space.
The final frontier.
My
Dude,
gosh.
good joke. Good joke past me. But it's a great movie. It turned out to be amazing. And of course I recognized the story from like Fairly Odd Parents. It's like, oh, I get it. I've seen this. I know where this is going.
Yes.
But it's such a nice, they did it so well the first time, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah, at the end.
Right, by the end.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. This one is one that I think I've seen multiple times over the years. At first, it was just on TV. That yearly, just playing it on TV. So I had seen clips, like pieces of it. I don't remember if I had seen the entire thing before I watched it with Robin's family.
Yeah.
One year, and so that's when I think I finally got to see it from start to finish.
Right. We were not often a catch the movie on TV kind of family. It came to things like this.
Yeah.
We had very particular movies we watched every year for Christmas, and we had specific dates that we watched them on.
Mm-hmm.
And this one we would watch on December 22nd, I believe, every year.
Yeah.
And it was a very big family tradition, and we'll probably watch it this year in some form. This is a movie that I have seen every year of my life. I'm very confident.
Countless times.
Yeah, confident saying that. It's my sister
Yes.
Becky's favorite movie. At least it's one of her favorite movies.
Nice.
It makes me cry still. And it's just a really nice message.
It really is. And it's, of course, in black and white.
Yeah.
The original version. They did colorize it. And when we found that out, I wanted to have us watch the black and white version and write down what we think that they put the colors in.
Yeah,
as.
like what colors
Like what
everything
color was her dress during this scene? What color was the robe? What color? But we have not gotten around to doing
We're
that.
gonna do
Oh,
it.
that
We're gonna
sounds
do it.
fun.
We eventually will.
Because when the colorized version came out, Jimmy Stewart didn't want people to see. He petitioned against the color version of this movie, and I'm guessing because part of the magic it may be the black and white.
Yeah.
It's easier to fall for the hot LA summer being transformed into a very, very cold Bedford Falls.
Yeah.
When it's black and white.
Yes, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that really helps with it.
And honestly, I would say, I would argue that the color doesn't necessarily add anything.
No, it
we
doesn't.
we all know what the colors of Christmas are, right? we can get an idea of what things are just by looking at it.
Yes.
I love black and white movies.
So
yeah. I
It doesn't
definitely
need to be.
prefer the black and white,
Yeah, oh.
especially for this movie.
Yeah.
I just, as a kid watching it in black and white, I
Yeah.
always felt like it didn't matter. I could imagine what the colors were.
Exactly.
And sometimes I would forget,
Mhm.
is that when we watch in black and white? I can't remember. I can't. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, for those of you who haven't seen this wonderful movie, obviously, since we just gave it such a glowing review,
Mhm.
go watch it. But here's a little synopsis for you. George Bailey is about to give up on his life. As far as he's concerned, he's a complete failure who has never amounted to anything. When the angel Gabriel hears the prayers of George's concerned family and friends, he sends a novice angel named Clarence to intervene. Clarence doesn't know exactly how to help this man until George proclaims that he wishes he'd never been born, and Clarence decides to make that wish a reality.
Oh, snap.
I love, just the first thing I'll say is I love that he sends a newbie angel.
Yes.
It's it's your first day on the job. You can
There you go.
this.
Here's a few facts about his
intern.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Go
show him
for
the slideshow. They show him the movie that's his life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the movie was made.
Oh,
Yay.
right.
Let's do something we never do.
Yeah.
Talk about how the
Something totally new.
A BCD first.
It's a Wonderful Life began, as so many Hollywood films do, with a short story. In the winter of 1938, Philip Van Dorenstern wrote a story called The Greatest Gift, about a banker on the brink of suicide until an angel shows him what the world would be like without him. Stern was unable to get the story published, so he made it into a pamphlet and mailed it out to 200 people as a Christmas card in 1943. 200.
Yeah.
That's...
Do I even know 200 people personally?
I'm certainly not sending out 200 Christmas
I was
cards.
going to say, that's just more of a pain than it's worth. I would have to, even if I sent to everyone I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I still don't think that's enough people.
Yeah.
According to the New York Times, one of the recipients of the story was Stern's agent, who was able to sell it to RKO Pictures, one of the biggest studios during the golden age of Hollywood, for $10,000. Adjusted for inflation, this would be about $157,925 today.
That's,
All right.
I mean, that's pretty
It's a good chunk of change.
I don't know how much stories go for now.
No idea.
Probably more.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Yeah.
For one story?
I'd take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. I
Yeah.
would. I don't think I'd turn my nose up on that one.
No.
Yeah. RKO had 3 scriptwriters adapt the story into 3 screenplays, with a plan for Cary Grant to star in the eventual film adaptation, which did not come to pass.
It did not.
Screenwriter Mark Connolly's script included a scene where George Bailey sees a world with a bad version of himself. Clifford Odets took this idea and had the 2 Georges fight on the bridge, with the evil George dying in the end.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
An evil doppelganger version? Are you kidding me?
It sounds more like a Twilight Zone episode.
It does. Or a cartoon version.
Yeah. The third uncredited scriptwriter was Dalton Trumbo, the famous writer known for scripting Roman Holiday. None of the scripts seemed to work, so the project lost steam until Frank Capra came along and purchased the rights for $10,000, the same amount that RKO had paid. However, RKO also tossed in the 3 scripts. Capra combined the scripts and added some of his own ideas. For example, he created the character of Mr. Potter, the villain portrayed by the legendary actor Lionel Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's great uncle. He also reimagined Bedford Falls as a more believable place, so audiences could connect with the characters.
Also, if he needed to reimagine the place to be believable, what was going on?
Yeah, what
before?
was-
Yeah.
What wasn't believable?
Yeah.
I want to know.
I think it was he incorporated a lot of real-world elements to this place.
Mhm.
So that-
So it's got landmarks that are not
Yeah.
in the same place.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's believed that during this time, Capra visited the town of Seneca Falls to get inspiration for Bedford Falls. According to the Seneca Falls It's a Wonderful Life Museum, a barber named Tom Bellissima recalled cutting Capra's hair during a visit. Seneca Falls and Bedford Falls have a few similarities. For example, they are both located in western New York. The architecture and layout of the town both look similar as well. Not only that, a resident of Seneca Falls once set up affordable housing named after his family. George Bailey does the same thing in this film.
Quite a few little similarities.
But the biggest similarity was the story of Antonia Vericalli. In April of 1917, a woman attempted suicide by jumping from the Seneca Falls Bridge. Antonia Vericalli jumped in after her, saving her life, but losing his own in the process. He was only 19 years old.
Man.
Oh.
In response to this, he was posthumously awarded the Carnegie Hero Medal. Seneca Falls then came together to raise enough money for Vericalli's family to come live in the United States, a dream that he had been working toward.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
In the film, George walks down to the Bedford Falls Bridge and heavily considers jumping into the icy water. Clarence, George's angel, saves his life by jumping into the water just before George could do it himself. George then saves the angel and forgets about his own thoughts of suicide. The events of Antonio Vericalli could have inspired this part of the film. In fact, a lot of people believe that it did.
I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the ending of this movie. At the end of It's a Wonderful Life, the town comes together because George is in some financial trouble, and they all pitch in so that they can help.
Yeah.
You know, they can help him get out of his hole. And that is what the town did here. You know, they
Yeah,
all
for his
got together
family.
so that his family could come.
Right.
Yeah.
After buying The Greatest Gift from RKO Pictures, Frank Capra changed the name of the movie to It's a Wonderful Life,
Yeah.
the one we know and love.
Yeah.
He hired 2 screenwriters to help with the new conglomerate script. Their names were Albert Hackett and Francis Goodrich. The screenwriters were thrilled to work with someone as creative as Capra, but the relationship between them and the director soured over time. For one thing, Capra was taking their work and rewriting portions of it with another screenwriter behind their backs, something that is against the rules according to the Writers Guild.
And these 2 writers were founding members of the Writers Guild.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So to do it to them, it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Bad news. The couple also felt that Capra was condescending, and they didn't like that he referred to Frances as my dear woman.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
These 2 screenwriters were pretty well known. They wrote a lot of other stuff later. They wrote Father of the Bride and the sequel.
Nice.
Yeah. So they
Like
wrote a lot of
those.
they were a husband-wife duo, and they wrote a lot of movies together, and she was very well respected, and
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like, him talking to her that way was
Yeah, I can
pretty out of line.
I can hear it. I can hear
Yeah.
the condescension and the
Yes.
talking down.
Yeah,
Oh,
just imagine.
yeah.
My dear woman,
Mhm.
I know what's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, exactly. let me explain
That's all-
to
yeah.
you.
I am a man.
And that's all that that makes
That's
all the
Yep.
difference.
That's it.
They turned in their version of the script regardless, and Capra hired another 2 more writers to polish it off. The Writers Guild stepped in and made sure that Goodrich and Hackett got top credit for their work, with Capra and other writers listed below.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mhm.
They got top billing with Capra
As they
getting
should.
the 3rd
Mhm.
screenwrite because he did come up with a lot of parts of the story.
Right.
It's a Wonderful Life opens with the shot of a bell, very much like the famed Liberty Bell, ringing. This was the calling card for Liberty Films, an independent film studio founded by Frank Capra, Sam Briskin, William Wyler, and George Stevens.
Now, when I was a kid, if you guys remember, there's a very famous quote in this movie,
Mhm.
and it goes like this. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And at the beginning and end of this movie, you see the Liberty Films bell, and I didn't think that it was the production studio. I thought it was just part of the whole movie thing.
Me too.
Yeah,
Wow.
like bong, 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 bong. Like all the bells are ringing, all the angels are
Yeah,
winging it up
angels are-
there, you know?
Winging it up.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's funny. I wish that more studios did something like this.
Yeah.
Rather than having 50 splash logos at the beginning of your
Yeah.
movie. You know, why not just do like a little calling card?
Yeah, like
shot?
a little live
Yeah.
action
I like
thing.
that.
Yeah.
In the 1930s, Frank Capra was quite possibly the most well-known director in Hollywood. While the country toiled through the Great Depression, audiences could look to his films for a dose of optimism. In fact, some critics would even refer to his work as Capricorn because of its perceived cheesiness.
Aha.
I mean, that's a pretty clever name.
Yeah.
But-
Gotta give the people what they want.
yeah.
Hey,
you know what?
Hey, the depression
Yeah,
sucks, all right?
Exactly.
Yep.
You know,
We need.
it's cool to watch something fun.
We deserve some happiness.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we're feeling it now. You know,
Mhm.
we get it.
We're going to be getting some pretty optimistic movies, I think, for the next
Yeah.
5-6 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay with it.
And I mean, a lot of movies nowadays could be considered like popcorn movies,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Capra didn't mind because he believed it was important to spread positive messages. During the 1930s, he directed award-winning classics like It Happened One Night and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. While serving in the Signal Corps during World War II, he directed 7 documentaries that were meant to increase public support for the war effort.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an actual officer in a branch of the military, which was all about communication and making stuff like that.
Interesting.
After returning from the war, Capra started the Liberty Films, and It's a Wonderful Life would be their first and only production before they would be forced to sell their assets to Paramount in 1948.
Darn
That
it.
was fast.
Darn it. That's why nobody does the calling card thing. They only got to do it once.
Once.
Yeah, basically it was the only one that got to be made under Liberty Film
Mm.
Studios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had other movies that they worked on, but they were
Mhm.
technically under Paramount at that point. So, but the Liberty Films, I think,
Yeah.
did make a few more, but it wasn't, this was the first
Right.
and only one where they hadn't sold all their stuff yet.
I see.
So that must be why this movie isn't just on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
It's just kind of in this limbo because technically they didn't own them yet.
Some would describe Capra as a true independent, a filmmaker that never adhered to conventional standards. His philosophy was that there was one man behind every film, meaning he was involved in most of the decision-making on each production. Because of this, Capra was responsible for many of the key details of It's a Wonderful Life, including the casting. James Stewart was Capra's first choice for George Bailey from the beginning. He had already starred in other Capra projects, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Can't Take It With You.
You Can't Take It With You and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. They're two pretty optimistic,
Yeah.
Are
they Capricorn?
Yeah. And it's funny because in You Can't Take It With You, Lionel Barrymore is in that as well and plays I would say, pretty much an opposite character to what he plays in this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stewart's on-screen characters were often honest and friendly, and audiences recognized his unique and unassuming style of speech.
You guys have heard a Jimmy Stewart impression from lots of people.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's
all
so
the time.
easy, right?
So popular.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like an easy impression to do, but it is an easier voice to replicate because it was so distinct and his
Yeah.
style of speech.
Yeah, you can kind of get the sounds right, but if you really need to nail it, it's difficult.
Yeah, he had the accent that old movie stars had,
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
and so he did that. But he also had kind of a croak sound to his voice. Oh,
Yeah.
when he talked a lot, and it
Mm-hmm.
made him sound unsure a lot, and it made you
Right.
kind of love him because you felt like he
Endearing.
was an underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capra was convinced that Stewart could handle the darker scenes of this movie, and he was right. There's a scene where George and Mary kiss passionately after speaking on the phone. Stewart was reluctant to do the scene, saying he was rusty.
Mm.
Wow, trying to get out of a kiss.
Yeah.
Dang.
He's a nice guy, I guess.
Yeah,
He's
he
like, I
is.
don't want her to have a bad time.
I don't want her to not like me.
Yeah. Oh, she'll have the rest of the movie
Yeah.
to deal with me. Capra insisted and changed the scene so that George and Mary would share the same phone, making the kiss afterward feel more natural. The couple shot it in one take, apparently leaving out a whole page of dialogue. When the script supervisor brought this up, Capra reportedly replied, "With technique like that, who needs dialogue?"
What? What?
So-
A whole page.
A whole page.
And I think honestly, the chemistry is really strong in this
It's
scene.
thick.
They're both on the phone. They have to share the same phone, and they're looking at each other. And it's this really nice scene because I'm guessing this whole page of dialogue was probably about him maybe confessing his love to her or
Yeah.
something like that. But he doesn't do that. And the whole scene is about him kind of realizing that even though he wants to travel the world and he wants to do all these
Yeah.
things that he said he would always do, but what he really wants is to just settle down and marry her.
Yeah.
And like he's coming to terms with that in
Yep.
this scene, and he doesn't say any of that.
No.
They just act it, and it's so much more powerful that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says it's the chance of a lifetime.
Now, you listen to me. I don't want any plastics, and I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married ever to anyone. You understand that? I want to do what I want to do. And you're...
George.
And they literally get married in the next frame of the movie after they
Yeah.
kiss. This is the 1940s classic smash kiss where they don't really kiss each other. They just kind of smash their faces against each other.
Yeah.
And it looks so painful. And you're like,
It
God, like
does.
you'd bite your lip doing
Yeah.
that.
It's
yeah.
about passion, Rob.
Yeah. You're
It's
like,
about making it look like they really mean it.
Capra's first choice for Mary was Jean Arthur because she had experience playing opposite Stewart in 2 of his films. Arthur declined, and Capra looked at several other actresses, including Ginger Rogers.
What?
until finally deciding on Donna Reed.
It's so funny how old movies like this, like, you go from one movie to the next and there's just all the same actors again.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It didn't in this one, but, you know, his first thought, oh, well, the two that have worked together.
I'll just use the actress in these other movies, yeah.
In one scene, Reed's character was supposed to throw a rock at an abandoned house. Capra hired someone to throw the rock for Reed, but it turned out she was a terrific shot and threw rocks better than anyone on set.
Well.
Yeah, that's her.
Yes.
There was that rock.
Actually her.
Yeah.
From the start, Frank Capra was determined to have actor Henry Travers in the film. Travers was a veteran stage actor that had made a name for himself in famous film productions like The Bells of St. Mary's. Ultimately, Capra decided that Travers would be perfect as Clarence Oddbody, George's guardian angel. Travers retired from acting in 1949 and lived to be 91. Clarence would always be his most well-known role. Brilliant.
It's true, though. He's
Yes.
so good as this. Clarence is so fun.
It's perfect.
I believe that man is an angel.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
No doubt. Several different men were considered for the part of the conniving Mr. Potter, like Charles Coburn and Vincent Price. But the role went to Lionel Barrymore, a legendary actor that had previously appeared in Capra's film You Can't Take It With You.
Yeah. He's odious as
Yeah.
No,
Potter.
Yeah. Does a
You know?
great
Yeah.
job. I still
he's terrible.
I can't get over the fact that we said that he's related to Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, he's Drew Barrymore's
Right,
great uncle.
right.
Great uncle.
Yeah,
That's
her grandfather
really
was John
cool.
Barrymore.
Ah.
Yeah, another very famous
Another-
actor.
mhm.
Yeah, they were a big famous
It's-
actor family.
Family actors.
Yeah.
When It's a Wonderful Life premiered, the Hays Code was still in effect. One of the stipulations of the code was that villains should always be punished for their misdeeds.
What a dark time in Hollywood.
Right?
Where
It's so
they could,
strange.
yeah, where they were like, no, you have to punish your
Bad
villains.
guys can
Yep.
never win.
No,
Ever.
and not just not win, they have to be
They have to be
Right.
punished.
Right.
However, the film was able to get away with not punishing the evil Mr. Potter. Yeah. Capra said that he received more mail about this than anything else.
Wow.
I just feel like, first of all, the message of the movie is a little more positive,
Yeah.
and it's just like good things happen to somebody instead of
Mhm.
saying bad things happen to somebody. You know what I mean?
True.
Good things happen to the protagonist, not bad things happen to the antagonist, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also, just, I felt like he was kind of punished
Yeah.
because all he wanted was for everyone to shut up about George Bailey. He
Mhm.
wanted to take over George Bailey's business. He wanted to win, and he thought he did, and he didn't win.
Nope.
And I feel like that's a pretty. I
Mhm.
mean, he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, back to your hole
Ex-
with
Yeah,
you, and that's
exactly.
yeah, like I feel like that's fine. And he just didn't succeed in
Yep.
destroying their lives.
Mm-hmm.
it. Mm-hmm.
It's a Wonderful Life started production in the summer of 1946. Bedford Falls was a set built on the Encino Ranch owned by RKO Pictures in California. Even though it was a Liberty Films production, RKO Pictures would still distribute the film. We just want to mention that because that's why they were on the RKO property.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This was one of the longest sets built for a movie at the time. The main street was 300 yards long, with a tree-lined center parkway. Bedford Falls included 75 stores and buildings, including a bank with a marble front.
Ooh.
After a set like this, why don't you just like leave it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
this
We'll
is
just use it.
this is a new
Use it.
this is the new town now. Like
For
Move on
everything.
in.
it's now public. This is real now.
Yeah.
Like this is too much to just take down.
I know. That's just, oh my gosh.
Sure, maybe other movies will use it, or like real businesses can move into the buildings or whatever. But I don't
Something.
know. It
Yeah.
seems like a waste.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The set had been constructed in 3 separate sections, but when it had all been pieced together, it covered about 4 acres of land. 20 full-grown oak trees were transplanted to the set as well. And like, did they leave
Wow.
them? I
See,
hope they left
that's
them.
what I'm
I
saying.
hope so too.
You know, because
At
it's
least
like,
leave the
transplant
trees.
them again, or
I would hope that at least they transplant it
Yeah.
again, not just like, no,
Chop
we're
them
done.
down.
Yeah.
Done with these. Like, leave it.
Yeah.
This is too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
4
literally-
acres of set?
You just built a town. Just
Seriously.
You know.
One of the most famous scenes in the movie takes place during a high school dance. As the main characters take part in a Charleston contest, a disgruntled teenager decides to open the floor to reveal a swimming pool. George and Mary then fall in, prompting other dancers to jump in as well. Critics felt that this scene was fakery at its worst, but the school and the gym floor really do exist in Beverly Hills.
You know, I believed it. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like, if you don't have a whole nother building to put your pool in,
Mhm.
Yeah, and
just put it under
also,
the court.
I guess technically it is fakery at its worst.
Yeah,
Because it wasn't fakery at all.
Exactly.
Hey. Fucking got him.
Yeah, this is a real school. The floor is still in operation, from
Mhm.
what I understand, and I think this is a really, really funny scene.
Yeah.
It's really fun to watch this, just having them dance closer and closer to the line, and
Yeah.
everyone's freaking out, and he's like, hey, we must be pretty good.
Yeah. And I love that after it opens,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go like, oh, everything's ruined. Oh, no.
Yes.
Everyone's
Yeah.
like, fucking, let's keep going. They just, and then
Yeah.
they just make it more fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
What's the matter, Othello? Jealous? Did you know there's a swimming pool under this floor? And did you know that button behind you causes this floor to open up? And did you further know that George Bailey is dancing right over that crack? I've got the key.
The special effects team developed a groundbreaking way to make fake snow.
Yeah,
Which-
they did.
Yeah, and they won a technical award for it as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't have a film take place during a New York December and not have snow, right? However, It's a Wonderful Life was filmed during a record-breaking heat wave, meaning that there was no snow to be found. In fact, the heat was so intense they had to take a day off of production so everyone could rest.
Oh, man, of all the summers,
Yeah.
right?
Yikes. Yeah.
Ugh. Up until this point, movie snow was often bleached cornflakes, which, as you can imagine, makes it difficult to record audio.
What?
Yeah, try not to step on the snow, everyone. I know it's everywhere. You gotta try.
It sounds like it just sounds like somebody eating a bowl of Frosted Flakes
Oh my
just
gosh.
into a microphone.
Into a mic. Oh.
Oh.
The special effects crew used 3,000 tons of ice, and I double checked
Yes.
to make sure that's what we're going with. That's the number
Yep.
we're going with.
Tons.
boy.
3,000 tons of ice, 300 tons of gypsum, 300 tons of plaster, and 6,000 gallons of a special mixture of foamite, soap, and water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lordy
I
Lord.
mean, they had at minimum 300 yards of area to cover.
Yeah.
True. They had a ton of area to cover, and it was freaking hot outside.
Yeah,
So
It was melting and
It
melting and
makes
melting and melting.
Yeah.
that's an absolute huge amount of ice.
Yes. And I think about it, like the chemical mixture, the plaster and everything, it's all in his hair. And like,
Yeah,
Oh.
gross. So
Yeah.
definitely have to shower every night.
It's a Wonderful Life was the final collaboration between Frank Capra and composer Dimitri Tompkin. Tompkin had worked with Capra on previous films like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. They were kind of a duo. They worked together in a lot of
Yeah,
movies
right.
together. Frank Capra never saw this movie as a Christmas movie, although it takes place at Christmas. Originally, it was scheduled to release in the spring of 1947, but RKO pushed up the release to December of 1946, rushing parts of the production. The greatest casualty of this was Tompkin's score.
Oh man.
Mhm.
So they wanted it to be in Oscar contention, so they pushed
Yeah.
it back
Aha.
to
Yep.
December, and they also thought, well, it takes place at Christmas. It should release at Christmas,
Mhm.
even though they just filmed it in the summertime.
I wonder if it would have done any better or worse if it released in spring.
I wonder too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The score that the audience hears while watching the final cut of the movie is drastically different than what Tiomkin composed. His music had a darker tone, emphasizing the more serious themes in the film. Themes like financial ruin, death, and suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't think that his music was too dark for the movie, listening to it, but I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, same.
I mean, the movie does explore those things.
Right, but would the tone have been too much for people? Maybe somebody out there can edit the music and
edit in now.
Have the cut with his music in it.
Ooh, 75th anniversary edition.
Oh, shit.
I'm sure it's out already, though.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
To make the film feel lighter, much of Tiomkin's music was cut and replaced with pre-written music. Because of the rush deadline, there wasn't enough time for rewrites, and most of Tiomkin's music ended up on the cutting room floor. He referred to it as a real scissors job.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I think this might be why it was the last movie he made with Frank Capra.
I'm done.
Yeah.
For decades, audiences didn't have a chance to hear the original music, but the Sundance Institute was able to recover much of it. The reconstructed version of what Tiomkin had planned can be found on a recent episode of Saturday Cinema with Lynn Warfel, and we're going to link to it in the blog.
Yeah.
It's a radio program from NPR.
Nice.
So, and she talks about the movie and some of the history of the music and all the drama.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
So it's a good listen.
It's really good. We're going to link to it so you guys can listen to it.
Sweet. Definitely go check out the blog, as you should for every episode.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other people who star in this movie. We kind of went over the big guns, right?
Yeah.
The main people, but there's obviously a lot more to the movie. First, we have Thomas Mitchell as Uncle Billy.
Oh, Uncle Billy.
Aww.
Yes. Mitchell was a character actor, and another recognizable role for him was Gerald O'Hara in Gone with the Wind.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool.
Uncle Billy is the character that he works with George the bank. And he's always forgetting things, and so he's always tying strings on his fingers to try to remember stuff, which I did not understand as a kid.
Yeah, you're like, what is this
at
dude
all?
doing?
Yes. Yeah. What the heck is he doing? It wouldn't help me as an adult. No.
I mean, maybe if the strings had stuff written on them.
Yes.
But if you're just tying strings, I'd be like, wait a minute, why did I put that one on my pinky?
Yeah.
Why is my pinky? What?
Yes. I love Uncle Billy. He's such a sweet guy. And, the scene where he loses the money, there's a scene in this movie where he loses all their money, and really because Potter steals it from him. But, and George kind of turns on him and yells at him. It's so heartbreaking to watch that.
Yeah.
Next is H.B. Warner as Mr. Gower. During this time, Warner had been typecast after appearing as Jesus in 1927 silent film The King of Kings.
It's so weird to me because I don't look at him and think, yep, that's Jesus.
Yep. Although it was controversial to have him play a troubled alcoholic, Capra took the chance. Warner was thrilled to play such a different character and show that he was not a one-note actor.
No.
Yeah.
This scene is so interesting. I think it's a pretty famous scene in the movie where young George Bailey realizes that the pharmacist, Mr. Gower, is too distraught to fulfill prescriptions, and he has used this poison or some sort of poison in the prescription, and he doesn't know what to do, and so he just doesn't deliver it.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Gower smacks him he's bleeding.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And I believe the little boy that played young George Bailey said he actually did kind of get a little blood from that.
Oh, man.
But he said that H.B. Warner was a very sweet man, and after the scene was done, he hugged him and was like, oh my gosh, you did so great. So he was like, Warner was a really sweet man.
Yeah.
It was kind of a scary scene, honestly, especially as a kid. It was like, oh my gosh. Ugh.
Yeah. Imagine if he didn't look, too. If he didn't look to see that it was poison. Yeah.
Next, we have Beulah Bondi as Ma Bailey. She was also a character actor that ended up being typecast as mothers and grandmothers. She played Jimmy Stewart's mother about 4 times.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's
Aw.
fun.
Yeah.
Next, we have the children, the Bailey children. First is Larry Sims as Pete Bailey, Carol Combs as Jenny Bailey, Carolyn Grimes as Zuzu Bailey. When George also calls her his little ginger snap, it is cute but also relevant because Zuzu was actually a ginger snap brand at the time.
Aww.
So cute.
Nowadays, it'd be like, oh, that's product placement. Grimes said about the movie, I absolutely love it. There are so many messages. Capra was trying to make people realize that life is worth living and that you can make a difference. We lose sight of that every once in a while. That's why I think people love to watch it.
I think she's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then we have Jimmy Hawkins as Tommy Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have Lillian Randolph as Annie. Randolph was a prolific actress that appeared in several films and TV shows throughout her career, all the way up until 1980, when she passed away.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
wow.
last credit was 1979.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
She worked
Great.
till
all
the
the
end.
way up.
Yeah.
A little cameo appears in the scene where the gym floor opens at the high school dance. You can see that the young man that is jealous of George and opens the floor is Carl Alfalfa Switzer.
Yeah.
Alfalfa.
Hey, look at
From
that.
the Little Rascals.
Yeah. That little rascal at it again.
True to form,
Yeah.
All right, next we have some little fun facts for you we couldn't fit in anywhere else. When leaving George's house after the wedding festivities, Uncle Billy is clearly drunk. He is not able to realize that his missing hat is sitting upon his head. It's a cute little scene.
I love that.
When filming this scene, as the character of Uncle Billy exits the camera's frame, a loud crash can be heard. As intentional as it sounds, it's actually the accidental dropping of props by a technician.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just turn this way, and then right straight down there. Well, that way, huh? My wild Irish road. I'm all right. I'm all right. The sweetest.
Thomas Mitchell just rolled with the sound, calling out from off-screen that he's okay. Although the technician feared for his job, Capra instead gave him a raise for improving the sound of the film, as the audience imagines the crash being Uncle Billy colliding into trash cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
And he's like, I'm okay, I'm all right. And it's very, very funny. It's a very comedic scene.
Wow.
The
It
sound
is.
made it really, it made it so much better.
It couldn't have been more
really
perfect.
Yeah.
did.
That's awesome.
I think it helped that the actor went along with it.
Yes.
That he didn't, because they could have been mad, but he was
Mhm.
like, I'm all right.
Yeah. Perfect. He stayed in character, too.
Yeah.
Yep. During a run on the bank, when customers fear that they will lose their money, George uses his own personal honeymoon funds to calm his bank customers. All of the requests for money were scripted, except for the last one, made by Mrs. Davis. Her request was for only $17.50. Capra had told her to surprise Stewart, and so his reaction was genuine when he kissed her on the cheek for such a low money request.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
This scene is wild. So George and Mary are off on their honeymoon. They
Mhm.
just got married. They have a big stack of cash
Yep.
that he's been saving up for this, and they're going to travel the world. The one thing George has always wanted to do.
Oh, yeah.
Travel
always.
the world, and he's finally going to be able to do it. And on their way out, they see there's a run on the bank.
Yeah.
So he goes in there, and, of course the money is not at the bank.
Right.
And this is the very beginning of the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people are freaking out and they all want their money and they
Mhm.
all want to be able to take out their money. And everybody trying to take out their money all at the same time means that,
Very
Oops.
bad.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do it. So George uses his own personal money to give everybody, And each person, it's like, I need $50 right
Yeah.
now. And he's like, do you need $50? You know?
They're like asking for their entire savings that
Yeah.
they have in the
Yeah.
bank.
And he's like, do you need that? Do you really? 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
I don't have enough for all of you to have all of your money.
Yeah.
This is the same where he's like, we have Mama Dollar and Papa Dollar, and you better start making some babies real quick.
Oh, if only it worked like that.
There are a few reasons why audiences didn't go see It's a Wonderful Life. For one, the East Coast of the United States was experiencing record lows in temperatures, prompting a lot of people to stay home. But the main issue was that audiences felt it wasn't cheery enough to be a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
I feel like a lot of people probably went to see this. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I think a couple of people probably went to see this, and they expected it to be
Yeah.
Capricorny,
Yep.
like
I
all his
guess
other
so.
movies.
All his others.
And, you know, it gets pretty dark.
Mhm.
And then, of course, everything is wonderful at the end, and it's beautiful. But for some people, it just gets a little too dark
Mm-hmm.
before that happens, before the dawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess that's true, but I personally don't think that Christmas movies necessarily have to be cheery.
Yeah, the entire time.
But, you know,
I agree with you. Christmas is not necessarily a happy time for a lot of people.
yeah.
So I think it totally makes sense for there to be Christmas movies that aren't all sunshine and rainbows.
Mhm.
Right. And winter in itself is very hard.
Yes.
I mean, here when it snows during the winter and it's just dark
Gray,
really
yeah.
early and it's
Yeah.
gray and it's just, it kind of puts a mood on everything regardless of, like, everything could be going great. You could be so excited for Christmas, right?
Mhm.
Putting lights up. I'm really in the
but
spirit.
then once Christmas is over, everyone takes the lights down.
But it's still
Yeah.
winter. It's
Yeah.
still
Still
dark.
dark.
It's still cold.
Mhm.
It's just, it's
Yeah.
hard.
The film explores a lot of dark themes and might be a tough watch for some. Frank Capra never saw this as a failure. In fact, he often said It's a Wonderful Life was his favorite among his films. He liked that it explored the pain of normal life as well as the joy.
Yeah. It's something you really need sometimes.
It was really relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capra didn't want to make a film about the war, especially since it was fresh on the minds of audiences across the globe. But even though this film expressed a heartwarming message, it may not have been the uplifting escapism that post-war moviegoers were looking for. You know, people might have been
Yeah.
looking for something a little more
Mhm.
corny, like we were
Yeah.
saying, because the war had just happened. So
Mhm.
there is some debate about whether or not the film technically flopped, but it certainly didn't do well and foreshadowed the end of Liberty Films, and in some people's opinion, Frank Capra's career.
Mm.
A lot of studios and things were saying, oh, well, he doesn't bring in audiences anymore. And It's a
Mhm.
Wonderful Life flopped, and he didn't bring in the numbers that he's not a draw anymore.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And I mean, he bought too much ice.
Yep, that's
he just
it.
couldn't make it back. No
Yep.
matter, it's just
And this could have been the end of It's a Wonderful Life's legacy. But in 1974, the copyright owner of the film made a clerical error and failed to renew the film's copyright. It fell into the public domain, where TV studios jumped at the free content and played it freely for about 19 years.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
In terms of the film's popularity, this was the miracle the movie needed. It's a Wonderful Life had somehow become a Christmas staple, a movie that people of all ages would enjoy, gathered by their loved ones every holiday season.
Yeah.
That is a miracle.
What a turnaround.
Yeah. After about 19 years of this, the people that owned the copyright to the movie initially came out and they said, you know what? We might no longer own the copyright to the movie, but we do own the copyright to the short story. And
Ah.
because the movie is based on that content, we should own the copyright to that story. And they said, you know what? You're right. Because you own the copyright to the story, you should also own the copyright to adaptations of the story as well. And so
Wow.
therefore, they now kind of got their copyright back. Yeah.
That's
Alright.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very dumbed down description of what happened.
Yeah.
Let's hope that Disney doesn't pull any trickery since they don't have the Tarzan copyright anymore.
Oh my god.
Because there have been like 6 Tarzan movies.
Yeah.
Since.
yeah.
I think it was because the story was so intently adapted.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing that works
Not
for
so
everybody.
broad,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a very specific kind of exception type deal. Although the film was nominated for 5 different Academy Awards, it did not win any. So nobody saw this movie apparently, but then it got nominated for Oscars. So there's that.
Well, I mean, it came out in December, so
It made it.
it
Yep,
made it.
just in time.
Capra did win Best Director at the Golden Globes and the New York Film Critics Circle Awards. Several television shows have their own episode version of this movie. We mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, there's a Rugrats episode.
Mhm.
The Muppets did this, I think. I mean, pretty
Probably
much
so many.
yeah.
There's probably a SpongeBob one in there, too.
Yeah, it's... A sequel was in the works called It's a Wonderful Life, the rest of the story, but it has now been canceled.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
What?
We're good.
What
We don't need that.
No.
Honestly, though, like it's kind of a really happy ending, and we don't
Yeah.
need to know.
Mhm.
Nope.
We don't need to know.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Imagine if they were like, let's make Shawshank 2, right?
The rest of the story.
The rest of the story, where they try to do this charter boat business and they get arrested again or something.
Oh
and I'm like, are
my.
you kidding me?
No thanks.
No.
We don't need... Leave
No.
it. Just leave it.
Also, Seneca Falls has a museum dedicated to the movie.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. And the Seneca Falls Bridge does look a lot like the bridge in the movie, I'm just going to say.
Just,
it
it
does.
came up a lot in the searches.
Yes, it sure did. So, do we have any final thoughts about the movie before we wrap up?
It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Nice.
It just is. I'm really glad. This is a weird bunch of circumstances
Yeah.
that led to it being popular. But I'm glad it did because I'm glad I got to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I love that the movie itself is kind of just something a lot of people relate to because they remember it being on TV.
Yes.
They remember
Yes.
watching it all the time. So now it's kind of a thing that connects us a little bit.
Yeah.
You watch Home Alone 2, Gremlins, all these movies that take place at Christmas, and at some point in time, someone flips on the TV and they're watching It's a Wonderful Life.
There it is.
And it's, even in Bruce Almighty, which isn't like a Christmas movie, it happens even in that, you know?
Yeah.
And there are so many iconic things that happen in this movie, so many great lines. He lassos the moon and,
Oh, yeah.
every time a bell rings. And
Yeah.
it's an incredibly quotable movie.
It's really had a wonderful life. hasn't
Yes, it
Yeah.
has. It has.
And it's funny you mentioned the moon part because I had seen that clip in like commercials and things
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
about 1 billion times.
Yeah.
Like, do you want the moon?
Yeah.
Throw a lasso around it,
There's so many signs at Hobby Lobby and Michael's
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Joann's that
exactly.
have that exact same quote.
Yeah, seen it everywhere. And then only once I finally saw the movie, it's like, no way.
There it is.
The OG. It's like when you see a meme,
Yeah.
you
when
know?
you see it in
when
in
you
action.
see the meme in
Yeah.
action, it's like, whoa. It's amazing.
It's a Wonderful Life had all the makings of a Hollywood classic. A famed director, a well-known and likable lead, and a heartwarming yet relatable story. But then the unexpected happened. Audiences didn't see it. For nearly 30 years, the film fell into relative obscurity, generally only remembered by those that saw it when it first premiered. But just when it seemed like the world was better off without it, it resurfaced to bring joy to audiences everywhere. As a Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life might get a little too real. The main character is a regular man with extraordinary ambition that eventually gives up his dreams to live what he considers to be an ordinary life. He has no understanding of the incredible impact he's had on so many lives until someone shows him. This film holds a message that nearly everyone on this planet longs to believe. That each and every one of us, just through the simple acts of life has made a remarkable difference. And if we were to learn anything from this movie, it's that we should all stop and remind the ones around us just how wonderful they are. I know. I was about to say, like,
Ooh.
teary.
And make sure you tell your local podcasts that they're also wonderful. That would be nice.
Yes, they would really, really appreciate it. All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I think with that, that's another case closed.
Woo! That
I
was
heard no difference between
No
the
difference?
hands.
That was all
That
claps
was-
around.
Yeah.
You could zoom all
It
the way in when you edit it. You could zoom all the way in, and they're gonna line up, baby. That
Yes.
was perfect.
Bam.
That was really, really good.
It was.
Oh, I think this is our last full-length Christmas episode
Yeah.
of the year.
Wow.
Woo. So Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry
guys.
Christmas.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the Christmas Case Diaries.
That's right.
Yes.
We're not clever at all.
Well, yeah, it sounds nice, though. It rolls,
does.
it rolls off the
It
tongue.
does,
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But before we go, we'd like to thank our patrons. Joel, John, Jacob, Jacqueline, JD, Anthony, Shelley, Linda, Bob, Carlos, and Jaron. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you guys so much. I love that you guys are like, speed run.
Yeah.
Speed run.
Do it. So if you want to support us on Patreon, you can find that on our website or just patreon.com.
Yeah. And don't forget our other show, No Small Parts. There will be a new episode sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Check it
in
out.
time for Christmas, but who knows?
Yes.
Yes.
And we now have a backlog of those, so you can go back and
Mhm.
listen to any
We have
of
11
those
episodes.
ones.
That's
Yeah.
They're so good.
They are.
You are missing out.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's only 15 minutes.
Yes.
Sometimes less.
Sometimes less,
Mhm.
sometimes more.
Yep. And if you want, you can make it a challenge, a mystery. See if you can figure out who it's written about.
Yeah.
But not only Patreon, but you can now also buy us a popcorn at buymeacoffee.com/blackcasediary. And we want to thank you all that support us, whether it be through listening, telling a friend, or donating.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yes.
Maybe leave us a review too. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, there are multiple places. Just
Yeah.
go for it. You can figure it
Do
out.
Anywhere, everywhere.
Good old Google search will help you out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
New York.
Oh, I left right in the middle of it. As soon as I got Mary's telegram. Good idea, Ernie. A toast. To my big brother, George, the richest man in town.